Win a Pageant, episode 49. If you're serious about winning your pageant, send me an email at alycia@winapageant.com to schedule an interview to see if you qualify for my VIP coaching program. Hey girl, welcome to another episode of Win a Pageant. I'm your coach, Alycia Darby. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about what you want to consider when creating your autograph cards. Now, every pageant title holder knows that you have to have autograph cards, and these are not just to use as a giveaway at children's events or to sign off to your favorite fans. Really, the autograph cards are vital marketing pieces for your year, and they have to be created with that in mind. Now, you're going to use your autograph cards similarly to business cards or even thank you cards and even flyers, okay? So there are certain things that should always be included. And I'm going to talk you through the top 8 things that you want to check off to include in your autograph cards. The first is your headshot. Okay, now this is obviously the most important thing because an autograph card, when you think about celebrities, you think of their photograph. In this specific instance, your photograph has to look like you. It cannot look like some other girl. It can't be all dolled up and looking crazy because you are going to be signing this autograph card in front of people. They're going to be able to look at you and look at the headshot. And if this doesn't look the same at all, then that's going to be embarrassing, okay? So it really has to look like you. Now, the best way that I've found to do an autograph card headshot is by using a white background. So if you have a dark background or even like a gray background in your autograph card, it makes it really difficult to sign and to leave a message. Back in the day, I would mess this up all the time. I was working with photographers that would have like fancy backgrounds and they're like purple and blue and stuff like that. It is so difficult to sign over top of that. In fact, I actually was trying to use silver Sharpie markers, which never worked for me. But I know the girls have tried that in the past. So if you're at that place right now, try a silver Sharpie marker. But what's better is to just use a white background for your images. And no matter what photographer you're working with, they can probably Photoshop the image to take out the background altogether. Or you could use a site like Fiverr.com. I'll include a link to that in my show notes. It's really easy to find somebody on there that can just remove the background. So trust me, you want to use a white background so that then you can add your signature with a color or something. Just trust me, it's less limiting with a white background. Okay. The second thing is, of course, your name. Duh, you have to have your name on there. Now, this is important because you want to be mindful of how you are presenting your name. You want to be branding this name and this image alongside one another. So when you think about Coca-Cola, you always see Coca-Cola written the same way. It's with a red background, white lettering, right? You think of it in a certain way. The same is true of your brand. So you want to think about your name. If, for example, you have this giant, big, long name, but you go by something that's much shorter. Like, for example, I have a friend who goes by Katie VB. Her last name is something like Van Burswick or something. It's very difficult to even understand when you look at it. So she simply goes by Katie VB. And that would be an excellent way to brand yourself as a pageant contestant. So your website, if that's what it is, whatever you're going by, that's the name you want to choose. You do not have to commit to first, middle, and last name. I know a lot of when I was growing up in a small town, that's what everybody used. So I always went by that. But in pageantry, you want to think about it in terms of branding. The next obvious thing would be your pageant title. Your title is not necessary, especially if you're going to be going to a national pageant. You don't want to have 1,000 cards that say Miss Macomb County. Okay, because 3 months later, you're going to be Miss Illinois or eventually Miss America, right? So you want to state only titles that are going to remain with you for long periods of time. Now, of course, as Miss America, as Miss USA even, it would be wise to print a whole bunch of cards with those as your title. If you've won a national pageant, then of course you want to use the national pageant title, but you don't have to as a local title holder or somebody that's kind of moving up the ranks. The next thing that can be kind of questionable is the year. Now, putting the year that you won your pageant title is also optional. It's great if you know you're not going to reuse these. Okay, so if you know for sure this is the very last pageant you'll ever compete in, or if you are a state, national, or international title holder, then it is wise to include the year. But you don't want to be silly over it, okay? Sometimes you're told as a local title holder in the Miss America system, for example, you're told to have 200 autograph cards for the state pageant. But then you show up to the state pageant, you only use like 3 to some little girl. You give like 1 to her mom, her aunt, and her like sister or something, right? So it's like that can be very wasteful, especially if you're putting a lot of effort into these cards. So what I recommend is you do not include the year, and you may even consider not including the title depending on your title. So just be smart and don't overdo it. Now, one thing that you absolutely do want to include is your website. This is a place where people can go to learn more about you and the cause that you are supporting. So if your website is your firstandlastname.com, that is ideal. Many people have a platform website. That's awesome too. Your website, you're also social media. This is a great place to put your social media, even hashtags that you use. You basically want people to be able to connect with you further. So where would they go? How do they find you? How do they learn more about you? You got to include that. The next thing you got to include is your platform. You want to include the concept, the title, a logo if you've got it, the website of your platform, any points of interest. This is where you really want to consider your autograph cards as a marketing piece. If they just see a pretty headshot and a name on a piece of paper, that's not going to have as much power as it would if it also included the concepts that you really stand for, your platform and what you're really representing. So that's absolutely huge. And then another thing you may consider including, and not everybody does this because if the platform is very well branded, you won't necessarily need this, but a personal brand slogan can be very useful. This is really for more advanced pageant title holders, for women that have specific quotes that they run on or that they are using in all of their marketing. This is a really great way for people to connect you to future opportunities. So if you've got a brand slogan, like for me, mine was always, motivation is the combination of understanding the process and believing in the possibility. And I truly believe that, and I still live my life by that you become way more motivated when you have an understanding of the step-by-step process and you believe that it's totally possible. That's where your motivation comes from. So that's an example of a personal brand slogan. Once you've nailed down all of the specific things that you want to include, now we got to talk about how to design this. You could hire a professional designer to manage the layout, or you could just use design resources to create it yourself. It really depends on what you're after. If you want to just hire somebody and let them deal with all the things, then that is absolutely fine. I always used canva.com in recent years because you can create really exceptional custom designs. If you are not a creative person or that's something you don't want to spend your time becoming, then that's something to easily outsource. So you can give it to a professional designer. Of course, you'll pay for them to design it unless you've got connections or a sponsor or something, but you at least want to create a rough draft of your ideas so that you can communicate it better to a professional. They can see your vision a little bit better. So canva.com, I'll link that up in the show notes at winapageant.com/49. That's where this episode will be. So I'll put a link there for you so that you can just reach it directly. But you've got to know first the size of what you want to print because that's going to impact the design. I have always preferred 5x7s. With the 7 being the tall spot, so it's up and down, not side to side, okay? So now because these are they're less likely to be lost than a smaller version, and they're easier to print for a lot of printing companies. They're also not so big that they become cumbersome, okay? For printing, I typically use vistaprint.com. They are very inexpensive and they ship super fast. They ship anywhere and they're just really easy to use. They save your designs. You can upload a custom design or you can design it right inside there. They do a front and a back, which I always recommend. I'll walk you through those design elements in a moment, but you really want to just think about first, you got to go to the end. Where am I printing this at? back it up and say, okay, what are the bleed? The bleed is like the margins around the outside. If you use a source like Vistaprint, it helps you to know how large the bleed is on the outside. So that can be very important too. So when you're thinking about what's on the front, what's on the back, start with the front. That's always the easiest. It's simply your headshot and your name. If you're including your year and your title, that would also be a really great place to put it. On the back is where you want to put all of the information to teach people about a specific action that you want them to take, like to join you on social media, to follow you on your website, to join your program, to donate wherever. This is where you put your slogan. This is where you put the details of all of the information you want to share. The front is essentially, this is something that they could frame and just look at the photo and the title. The back is where all the details go. The front is also where you will be signing. So be mindful of how much white space is there. It's really tough. You don't want to be signing over top of your like nose and cheekbones. Okay. So really think about how big this image can be so that you have space to write a little message when that time strikes you. It's important to know that you will be bringing these everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. So do not be shy using them to promote your platform or to promote yourself for additional appearances. You want to be able to give these to children. You want to be able to give them to adults. You want to really feel proud of them. This will essentially be your calling card. This is your media card. This is what you'll give to people if they want to do an interview. They come up to you and they're like, oh, I want to do an interview. And how do you spell your name? And where can we learn more? You're like, bam, here you go. Put this in. It just keeps everything together. So you want to think about, how am I going to be carrying this with me as I go to different appearances? Will this fit in your crown box? Will it fit in your purse? Will it fit in your media bag if you've got one? Whatever you're thinking about, that's what you want to think. That's going to guide you through how to discover what size you want them to be and what's going to really be the information on them. Now, I've given you a lot of information in this episode, so I also want to provide you with a few examples of actual autograph cards that I've created. I'm going to do that for you in the show notes of this episode at winapageant.com/49. That's where I will upload for you an actual image so that you can see what I'm talking about and how to do this without being cheesy or without making it look like overly crowded or whatever, okay? Your autograph cards say a lot about you. They do about every title holder. So you really want to be able to communicate your brand. You want to be professional, personal, engaging. Think about all of the elements in your Fantastic Five, your star qualities. What do you want people to look at this and think? Then, when it gets into the hands of the right person, like a potential sponsor, a platform partner, a media professional, or some other action taker, then bam, all of a sudden, that 25-cent autograph card that you put so much thought into becomes a huge opportunity. When you start thinking like that type of title holder, a pageant girl who's truly dedicated to the end result, and once I win this title, what is it going to bring me? When you have that big picture thinking, that, ladies, is how you win a pageant. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next Win a Pageant Wednesday. Creating powerful platforms is truly my specialty. I've helped women publish books, get sponsored YouTube channels, and partner with major corporations. If you're a doer who's ready to create a big vision platform, then email me at Alycia@winapageant.com. And if you're a dreamer who's up against one of my girls, then look out. She's coming in hot. Hey there, I'm Alycia Darby, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching that last video. If you totally loved it and got something from it, would you just click subscribe right here to subscribe to our YouTube channel? Hey, I am here for you, and I've got so many more trainings and videos for you. In fact, this one would be a really great one to watch next. Or if that topic doesn't interest you, then try this one. It's my most recent video training. So I think both of these would be really great for you. Thank you again so much for subscribing. I am honored to be your coach. I'll see you again soon.